Right, so we're about to build a mini Hitman. Right here we have the cores as you receive them, the fins. First step we're going to do is take them out of the foam block which they were cut from. Now a lot of times these will be stuck in here due to when the hot wire has gone through, it has melted the cores into the beds, because as it's cooled down it's re-adhered itself. So we've got to be real careful with the trailing edge, especially this along here, because this tends to stick, because that's where the wire exits the cut. So I like to get my hand underneath and try and slowly pry the back edge off without ripping too much of the foam. You can alternatively get a knife and cut down the very trailing edge and maybe lose 3 or 4 millimeters of your back of your elevon, which will not matter too much. If you're having trouble getting them off. This one in particular is a very tricky one. So I might do that with this one. This one's been a particularly tricky one. I'm going to go and run my knife along the trailing edge, taking about 3 or 4 millimeters off the back of the elevon, using a straight edge. Run that along. Now this should come off pretty easy. There we go. We've lost a little bit off the back edge of the elevon, but that's not going to matter at all. And it stops this happening. It stops any tearing of the back of the elevon. I'm going to do the same with the other side, so we've got even the other side is adhered to the other side. I'll run my knife on the back of that one too. Beautiful. Here we go. The next step is we're going to have a lot of this slag, we call it, this sort of angel hair some people call it as well, which is just caused from the wire dragging through the foam. I've got the wire temperature a little bit cooler at the root because the wire is going slower at the root, faster at the root than it is at the tip. So to not get too much burning at the tip, too much melting of the foam, because the wire's going so much slower, I've had to sacrifice by having a little bit of these angel hairs, which don't take much to pull off. They should just easily pull off. And once you've done that, both sides, this one's quite a bit worse, but you can rub it with another bit of EPP. So if you grab a bit of your EPP block from before, you actually rub it on the surface, and you'll see that actually comes off quite easily. And you get all this stuff off it. Right, our next step is to glue the cores together. So I like to start by matching them up underneath, using a piece of masking tape to get them matched up. Nice and lined up. At the front. So we're nice and lined up, front and rear. Sometimes the cores may not be perfectly the same at the cord, at the root. This is, I don't know what causes this from the cutting issues, but foam cutter must have some issues somewhere. If that's the case, what you can do is you can trim one side so that it brings the cord shorter so they match up. So what I'll do, I don't want any glue leaking over my table, so run a strip of masking tape down the whole length. Stop any glue seeping through onto my nice table, which I shouldn't really be building on. So now I've got that secured underneath, I can open up the middle and pour my glue in. I like to use white Gorilla Glue. It's hard to get in New Zealand, if impossible. I've actually got this by Amazon from the States, because I really like the fact that it dries in 20 minutes, it foams up to about the same density of the foam, and it adheres it really well. So I'll pour a little bit of this on. Don't get too much. And it helps, I've got a little bit of water in a spray bottle, which I'll put over the other side, like an activator. That helps it cure a bit faster and also foams up a little bit more, which actually I like. together, make sure we're nice and lined up, that we're not twisted. We don't want to be twisted at all, because then you'll have one wing at a different angle of attack to the other, which will not be good. I'm then going to put some tape on the top, putting some tension on the tape to pull the cores together. So I'll put one side down, tension it a little bit, help pull them together. I'll sit that there, making sure we're double checking one more time that we're nice and lined up. And I'll leave that there for half an hour, come back, and then I'll take the tape off and we'll be doing it. Now, one thing you can actually do while you're waiting for it to dry, as long as you don't knock it too much, is cut out this back section here to allow your prop to run through. Now you can run a 4, 5 or 6 inch prop depending on what power combo you want to run. I find the 5's good because it's what we'll use generally with our 250 quads. What I'll do is I'll just mark either side, give me a little bit of prop clearance either side, chop it out, not chop too much through the bench, chop along the hinge line, to release my one side, then I'll match that over to the other side to make sure I get it the same. Chop it off, back along the hinge line. Now I've got clearance for a 5 inch prop. Hold on to these bits of foam because personally I chop, what I do is I do this, I chop a nice sort of triangle, as you can see there, off the foam through both bits. I then chop along to make it square so I don't have these bevels on the edges. Bevels. So I'm now square at the end, and I use these bits of foam at the end as my motor mount. So I'm going to end up with a square bit here which I can then glue my motor mount onto. So hold on to these bits for later. You can discard the rest. You should have enough if you stuff up the first set, you should have enough there to make a second set if you wanted to. So now we've given this thing some time to dry, we can remove our masking tape. Now I'm going to put some spars in. Now for this one you can use a variety of things. You can put, but generally you want to put something through this apex or around near this apex here, because this, in a crash, it's going to break through here. These are generally your weak points through the centre bit. So I'm going to just got a bit of old push rod, wire push rod from an old foam model, Bixler or something like that, whatever it was. I'm going to chop that in half, thereabouts in half. And I'm going to use a bit top and bottom. To do that, I'm just going to literally cut a line, cut the right length, through there. I'm going to inject some CA. Then I'm going to push it in. Of course, very importantly at this point, we're making sure we don't warp the wing. We don't have it, in a free state that it's not going to. So once I hit this with some kick it's going to stay like that. Cool, let that go off for a second. I might just put a bit of tape over that just so I don't get glue on my bench when I swap sides, in case it hasn't gone off yet. Now I'm going to swap it over and I'm going to do the same for the top side. So by doing that, what we're doing is we're getting torsion and compression working for us. So it doesn't need to be stiff because we've got something top and bottom which is working under tension and compression. So I'll do the same again on the top surface, roughly about the same position. Cut a line across, inject it with some C8, running out of C8, very much running out of C8. Push that in. Using this so I don't get glue on my fingers, using the pliers, push it in quite nicely into that slot. Again, double checking where I've walked the wing, that it's nice and straight, looking along it. I'm going to hit that with some kick it. I'm going to kick it. Well prepared for this video. There's that tube. Close enough. Cute. One thing I do before covering is I chop these tips off about in line, so I've got an angled cut there. That makes it much easier when we go to cover it. And it also provides clearance for the fins, for the other ones, so that they're not going to bind against the edge of the fin when the fins go on. I'm going to do it to both sides. Done to both sides. Right, now that should be pretty much cured. At this point, if you want to paint your foam with some spray cans before you cover it, this is a good point to do it. Just use any old spray can. It shouldn't melt the foam, just don't use too thick a layer of paint. So I'm just going to spray paint some something random on the bottom of this with some red paint before I cover it. So I've literally just put a little bit of red on the leading edge of this, top and bottom, so a bit more on the bottom. When I finish covering this, I'm going to put some decorative tape, like zaggy tape, on it as well, which will give a nice bold finish to the colour. Doesn't need to be too flash, just a bit of red. Let that dry off for a second, and then I'll start the covering process. Start the covering process. If you want your covering to adhere a little bit nicer and adhere a bit longer, help maintain its adhesion during crashes and arrivals, you can give the cores a light dusting with some ADOS or Spray 77 spray adhesive. Just helps seal the foam and create a bit of an adhesion layer. You don't have to do it because the laminating film keys into the foam quite well as it is if you apply it properly. But this is another thing you can do to help the adhesion process. I'm going to go outside and give this a light dusting. Not too heavy, just a light dusting is all you need. Time for the most crucial part of the entire build, and this is the most crucial part of the entire build. Laminating films. They are not all created equal. This I found to be really good. This is like a matte finish. It isn't a gloss finish, it's kind of an opaque matte finish. Just what I got from a print shop. This is end of roll stuff from a local print shop in town. I've tested it on some scrap EPP and found that it works about the right temperature for not melting the EPP foam of our wing. I'm going to go and cut out some bits and pieces of this to suit. I do these wings in 4 panels. I don't try and do the whole thing in one go because it's just going to end up in a big clusterfuck. It really is. So I'm going to start by tracing out cutting out a piece roughly about the right size. Go. That's roughly about the right size for 1/2. Now, when covering, You can actually use your old core bed to help keep it nice and straight and flat. And because we've got some spray adhesive on this one, it stops it sticking to my bench. So I'm going to start covering this. First thing I'm going to do is lay this about on. So I've got maybe 8 to 10 mil overlapping the leading edge, making sure it's overlapping past the centre line here. I've got plenty enough on the trailing edge because we're going to actually wrap this around the trailing edge onto the bottom of the elevon. I've got the household iron, doesn't need to be anything flash, this is just a normal household iron. I've already set my temperature on this because I know what the right temperature is from previous experience. With laminating film, we want to start from the centre and work outwards. We don't want to go from the outsides and tack in because you'll end up with a big bubble in the middle. So I'm going to start about where the end of the spar is, and I'm going to go along to the tip, slowly. You'll see it change colour if the light's right. Out to this centre there. Now, once I've got the centre tacked down, I'm going to start working it towards the leading edge. Don't rush this, but don't spend too long with your iron in one spot just in case you melt the foam. So I'm just slowly working it around, always pulling away from where you've previously tacked it down, because by doing that it keeps it nice and taut. So I'm not going to touch the elevon yet, do not touch that just yet. I'm just going to work up to the trailing edge of the main part of the wing, slowly working it. You can actually see where it's adhered and where it hasn't and get the right light. I'm not sure if we can with this. I can get the right light. You can see in some areas, like I've got some lighter colour where some air bubbles underneath the film, which I need to go over if that hasn't adhered yet. You get a feel for it. Work around the leading edge a little bit. I'm going to trim this bit at the front right here. Look at those cores. I'm going to work that around the leading edge now. You're working it around. Around. I find a good way to hold it. Might actually just put it on the edge of the table here. That'll help me get this around the leading edge. I'll look along, getting that in the light, and I can see that I've got some areas where it's stuck down. So, a trick to doing this to stop it warping is put this section over the edge of the table like this, so it's just the one wing half and you're pushing directly down onto the foam on the other side, so you're not up in the air. So I'm going to push down this bit on here, down to the trailing edge. Bubbles there, using the light. Trying to see where it hasn't adhered. The paint actually helps seeing where you have and where you haven't adhered. At this point I'm going to run a cut through to the apex here. And I'm also going to run a cut through to this apex here. These scissors are good, much better. Alright, at this point we're going to fold this elevon back on itself, back on the wing like this. And then we're going to place that wing with that down back on the table like that, nice and flat. Actually works well if you do it this way. Let's carry it back a little bit. Now I'm going to run this covering around the back edge of the wing. This here is the tricky bit. This is the bit where you either fuck your elevons or you make them good. this is the bit that Jacko and Scott Spooner can't get right. So then I'm going to keep carrying on until I'm adhering it to the bevel of the elevon on the back side, underside here. Making sure I adhere it nicely down. It's hard to get this bit. Running along. I'm going to do this section here too, the centre is. Adhere that down. Do this opposite side as well. Relief cut. You can see I'm starting to get wrinkles over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to relief cut that. That will help it over here. Rip that round onto the top surface. Might chop that bit off because it's being a pain in the ass. Hot iron. Right, so you see in the back here, I've now adhered it to the trailing edge of the wing and also the bevel on the elevon. I'm now flipping the wing right side up because the elevon's back on itself. And now I'm going to do the undersurface of the elevon, pushing away from where you've already adhered. Try not to adhere it to the top surface of the wing, so you've got to be careful of where you hold your iron. Cool, so that's done that. Now I'm going to peel the elevon off the top surface of the wing now. Back straight again. And see we've now covered the bottom of our elevon. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim up, leaving about 5mm. Thereabouts, all the way around. Elevon. I'm going to relief cut this. Easier. Relief cut that through there. Right, and then run this covering around the end of the elevon. A bit of extra over the top. Here, and over here at the top. Just going to do the same with these bits here. Just run them over the top, doesn't matter. Straight over the top. You can trim those off if you want to, but it's not going to hurt to have a bit more covering in the centre there. Now, generally I don't cover the wingtips itself. Generally I won't wrap that around. I'll generally trim that off because it makes adhering the fins into the foam a bit easier. Because you don't have to worry about covering it in. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the other side on the bottom, so I get both my bottom surfaces covered and the bottom of my elevons covered. I'm just doing the other bottom half now, so again from the centre outwards. Working that towards the leading edge. Off. Pull now. Work it towards the trailing edge. Always pushing directly down through the foam onto the bench. So let it roll around if it needs to. Just hold it so I can wrap around the leading edge. before. Again, nose. Piece down the nose. Around. Checking for any spots where I've missed in the light. Right, now we're going to do the fold the other one back trick. Back onto the top surface of the wing. Actually, one thing I haven't done first is the relief cuts. Let's do relief cuts. One to there, one to there. Right, now fold the other one to the back surface, top surface of the wing. Just on the bench again. Just cut it around. Bevel. This finding the right position to work in. Working away from where we've already adhered. Just make sure we're adhered, we're here. You don't have to worry too much about adhering too well to the other ones at this point, because we will go back over them. Sure that's the top surface. Might just hold that. Just going to hold that flat onto the cold bench. This is another trick. Holding it flat onto the cold bench to keep it flat and straight until that laminating film is cooled down. And that. Right, again, we're going to go around a trim. Get around about 5 mil around the outside. There it is. Trim that covering off the tip. Put it off. Nice blunt scissors, that's brilliant. Wrapping that around the edge of the other one again. There's one of the pieces again, goes back at the top. Might should trim that. Make sure that edge is adhered down. Making sure we haven't put too much of a warp in the wing at this point. We can fix that at the next point. So. Right, now I've cut the material out with the top surface. I'll grab. Not quite. Right. Cut another piece out the top surface. Like that. Making sure I get the adhesion layer on the right side. The top surface now. A little bit of overlap over the leading edge. Now I make sure I have this off the bench here so that I've got the wing sitting flat down on my surface. So the eye again from the middle. From the middle. flat. Working away from where I'm already. It's the front. Keeping this wing nice and flat on the table. Cool. That's alright. I'll take this other one. Nice and flat. Nice and flat on the table. What I'm going to do now to make sure that other one stays nice and flat is I'm just going to hold it actually upside down. Flat on the table, and I'm going to let it cool. This is a nice cold freestyle bench top. Waiting for that to cool, holding that other one flat on the table. This stops it warping. Holding that on there for a little bit, I'll move it to another cooler spot. Letting that cool down. That should be nice and straight. Looking along there, pretty much nice and flat. I've got a slight bow this way in it, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it onto its back, and I'm going to apply some heat on the convex side, so the outwards bowed side. That over on. Then I'm going to place that side I've applied heat to down onto the cold bench top again. And I'll let that cool. Just cool down. You can see now we've now pretty much got rid of that bow from, and that other one is looking nice and straight. It's the cause of the wing. Right, at this point I'm going to trim off the excess around the tip and around the back of the wing. That, with some relief cuts where all the apexes are. Bang it down. See the edges. Around. Edges a little bit there. But just get these bits in here. Right, finish wrapping the leading edge around to the bottom surface, which is already cutted. Good English. Put this back on the bench again, holding on just over the edge of the bench. I'm going to iron back and forth, and I'm going to slowly work that round to the undersurface, holding this wing nice and flat again on this bench. Work back the undersurface. Now, a nice leading edge. So a little bit dry spot here, a little bit haven't adhered very well there. Just run the iron back along that. Get that back down again. That's cool. See, I've now wrapped that film around the leading edge. Any little bits and pieces trim off. some relief cuts in here because it's going on to a different curve. Just get click, it's easy. That's that. Cool. Right, cut another last piece. Make sure I get it right way around, so it's going to be that way. Right. Bench. Line that up. Leading edge, a little bit hang over leading edge. Again, nice and flat on the bench. And again, start from the centre. Work outwards. Working away from where we've already adhered. Always pushing directly down onto the bench, not pushing in fresh air, because the undersurface is in fresh air. Where you're pushing down, it's going to create warps. Again, always pushing down and away. Done. Right, so this other one done. Nice and flat on the bench. Pushing away from where we're very good. Get that line. Change the wing. Now, same trick again. Onto the cold bench top. Hold it there, let it cool off. By choosing your work surface works pretty well. I like these big sort of stone or composite bench tops more so than that woody table I was working on before. It tends to help with this cooling process. Cool, I'm going to cut some of those relief cuts, apexes. Pictures of check that. Cut on the back of the elevon. Relief cuts again. Oh, just covering around. I've got a bit more excess on this side. Flat down on the bench again. Bring this around. Where I have it here, where I haven't. Oh, some more relief cuts. Start wrinkling. Down the bench. I use the edge of the bench quite a lot to make sure I'm pushing flat down on it. Now, some of these elevons will go a little more, so I've actually got some spots where I haven't adhered covering very well. I can see in the light, but it's not quite. Again, as I retouch this up with some heat, I'm going to have to hold it back down that bench top again. Let it cool. So that's better. Back onto the bench top, holding it down nice and flat. Let it cool off. Helps ensure we keep a nice straight elevon. Get and pieces, edges. And wrap this leading edge around. Bench. Back a little bit. Bits. Just going to hold this all back down on the bench again, keep it nice and flat. So I've applied some heat on that bottom surface just then, so I'm just going to hold it flat down on the bench, let it cool. Hopefully the bench isn't getting too warm. Should have a pretty much nice straight non-warped wing. It is now covered. Easy as that. And you'll see that what happens now is because we've covered underneath and on top, it's now made the hinge for the other ones. That's nice and stiff now. So after letting my wing cool down for a little bit, I've noticed that I've got this wingtip is now slightly bending upwards. If you look along it, I've actually got this slight curve up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down flat on the bench with again the raised side down on the bench. I'm going to get my iron. I'm going to run the iron along there again, and flat down on the bench. Then I'm going to put it flat on the bench again. I'm going to hold it there until it cools down. Keep it nice and flat. Holding that trailing edge nice and flat down on the surface. Now you see I've now got rid of that curve. There's no more curve in that wing. Happy days. If you do get a warp in your wing, this is one way you can do that. I like checking underneath and seeing, make sure both wingtips look like they're not twisted one way or the other. Got the fins, and I'm going to cover the fins because if you cover the fins with laminate, it makes them much stronger. So that's real simple. You just literally just put the iron straight on it, front to back. Make sure it's all head down. Double check, make sure it's all adhered. Now I go around and I chop all the corners. So I go corner. Corner, corner. Take about, I don't know, 15 to 20 mil around the outside. Like that. Put a relief cut into those two corners. So I've got a little piece of laminating film sticking out. Sticking out on each flat surface. I'm going to wrap that round, like using a flat bench, it's nice and put the camera back a bit. Wrap that round each of the sides. Really works well when you work flat on the bench. Wrap those bits around, back bit, around the edge, back to that side, this bit around the edge, back to that side, that bit along the side and then back around to the front. Then I get another little small piece. Where'd the piece go? That'll do. I'm going to place that. You'll see I'm actually placing it inside that bit. Thereabouts. Again, paring that down. Paring it down. Now I'm going to go around the outside and trim the excess. Just go around and seal those edges off, make sure they're all stuck down where I've just trimmed it. And the edge Simple, nice and simple. Just make sure I've got it nice and flat, so then a slight bend on it again, so the convex side, place the iron back on it again, and hold it flat on my bench and let it cool. And that should ensure I get a nice flat fin. There you go, pretty nice flat fin. Do that for both fins. Now I've gone and chopped myself a couple little bits of plywood. These are going to be where my horns mount onto the wings. So I'm going to place them around about a ruler, about that, TLAR. I might put it about there somewhere. And there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these straight to the top of the covering. I'm just going to use some silicone. I've got some, it's called goop, but any sort of silicone will work, or you can probably use hot glue as well. If you want to use hot glue, make it a bit quicker. I can't bother getting the hot glue going out right now. Press that silicone on there. Set it down. Put some masking tape down there, hold it until it dries. Nice flat. Same as the other one. Use my nice accurate measuring tool, it's about a plywood. About here somewhere. Nice little floating edge. Tape, hold that down. Dry. At this point we can also glue down what are going to be our motor mounts. Now I've set, you see I've got a slight bevel on those two pieces. And I'll place the top one, because doing this, yeah, put that one there, like that. Cool, I'll use some of that goop again, some silicone. Again you can use hot glue for this. And I'll place that, move that around. Square. I might trim that up in a second. There bits there, so that's not quite square. I'll trim that off in a bit later on. Somewhere about there, and same with a bit of tape, you can hold it down. Let it dry. Down. Same on the bottom. Trim both those bits up because they're not square. Front. Yeah, my knife was. There it is. Stand it. So I'm just going to trim these up. Square with each other. I might wait for this to dry. I'm going to wait for this to dry first, then I'll trim them up. So I'm just going to put a tape over, tension to hold them together so they're not lifting off the wing. Cool, I'm going to let that dry. Come back to its own. Now I've let that all dry for a little bit. I'm going to come along, I'm going to install my servos. I'm using Corona DS919s. I like them because they've got a good, they're nice and fast, but also got plenty of torque. So 0.7, 60 degrees, and 1.5 kilo of torque. About 12.5 grams, and they're metal geared, so they're nice and robust, which we all know is important. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to place this where I want the servo, so I want to do, my push rods are going to be in line with the direction of flight, so that's where my horn's going to be. I want to place my servo around about there somewhere. So I'm going to trace around that. Pin. I'm going to cut that out with a knife. Cut the plastic away. Peel the covering film away. You can see how well that laminating film is stuck at this point. Right, now I'm going to head out to the garage and I'm going to route that out. Right, here is my little homemade routing jig. It's an old Dremel of mine. It's got a 3mm bit in there. I'm going to set that cutter to the depth of the servo, thereabouts. Go down. Enough. Now I'm going to route around right. Now I've got this thing working, I'm going to route out this little pocket with this. That's why it's not working, it's smoking. So unfortunately my little router decided to die while I'm making this video, which is interesting. So what I've ended up doing is just pulling the rest of the foam out with the pliers until my servo sits reasonably flush in the wing there. Right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my servo centre, my servo tester, switch this on, put it into neutral position. Plug my servo in, so my servo is now in neutral position. I'm going to put my servo horn arm in, as close to 90 degrees as I possibly can. Now I've got it centred. Just have a bit of a test. See all the directions. Sweet. Back to centre. Unplug it. Just bring my servo horn in. Now, hot glue in my servo. Double check the fit again once more. What I will also do at this point, put a small relief into the wire. I'll extend that wire slot so I know where my receiver is going. That's going to sit in there nicely. Alright, so now we'll hot glue this in. That's flat. Cool. There's a bit of hot glue around the edge of the servo. Gaps. Around the edge of the servo. My knife blade across it just to keep that hot glue nice and flat. Right, now I'm just going to peel that hot glue off, trim it away so it's flat. See if I can make it. Peel it away from around it. Not too bad. I'm going to get a good quality clear tape. And I'm going to cut a 2-inch piece off. Bats. Stick it top and the back, tension it across. the servo. There we go, there's our servo installed. Nice and flush. And line with the block. They can probably come off now because that should be right. Thereabouts. I'm going to make the servo push rod, so I'm going to grab a piece of that wire which I used for the spar earlier. I'm going to bend a Z bend into it at one end. I'm going to find an appropriate hole. I'm going to use on these servos from the end. I'm going to use probably the middle hole, so about the third hole from the end. Open that out slightly. Feed the hole through this wire. There we go. Through that wire. I'm going to feed it through from the inside. I like doing it from the inside because it puts the rod closer to the output shaft of the servo. Which in turn keeps the load as close as possible to the shaft of the servo to help stop flexing around. Next I'm going to grab a servo horn. Trim off that thing, I need that base bit. And I'll work out roughly where the horn's going to sit. Then I'm going to thereabouts with my servo horn centered, make sure my servo horn centered, so I'll just double check that again. I'm going to turn this on. Back in the center position. Work out roughly where that horn's going to go. Keeping that wing nice and flat so the control surface is flat, level. I'm going to work out where that next bend's going to be. Grab it there, put the bend in. Pop another Z bend in there. Nice Z bend in there. Trim that off. Put it through the servo horn. I'm going to use the outside hole. Furthest that hole. Push rod's a bit longer than I planned. That'll be right though. Now what I'm going to do, making sure the control surface is nice and flat. I might even weight this wing down. I'll put a tape on there. Now, oops, off again. Going to work out where the servo horn's going to be. Got a little pin vise here. There's a drill bit in it. A hole in there. Grab myself a servo screw. Go into a fancy. Actually, use the servo screws that come with the servo if you want to. Screw that horn on. Put the hole again. Cool, one in. So I'll have that servo buzzing away. Got the first hole in, like that. Right, another hole. Another servo screw. There we go. Screw that in. Make sure the screw doesn't stick at the back. You use 3 if you want, I'm only using 2, you don't overdo it. Just hold it on there, and then we have our control surface hooked up to the servo. Nice and simple. Good mechanical advantage from that servo. Nice and heavy. End hole on the servo horn, in further towards the hub of the servo, to get good maximum mechanical advantage. We've got good servo travel for the required throw on that control surface. If you have made your push rod a bit long, which technically I probably have, so if I move the servo around to more about centre, control surface is slightly down. So what you can do is you can slightly kink this wire, a small kink in it, which will take a bit of the wire. See there, I put just a slight kink in the wire, which will shorten up that wire slightly to bring it a bit more in line. Cool. Now same for the other side, and we'll get 2 servos done. Right, now we've got 2 servos installed, horns, push rods all connected up, all nice and straight. So, next thing I mentioned earlier was the fact you can use coloured tape rather than spray painting beforehand. So spray painting beforehand works fine, but on this one I've got some thin coloured tape. I'm going to add some stripes to this to make it a bit more interesting. So I'm going to add probably a black one here. One. The back. There. Secondary one. Turn it off. Cool. Samples, then you've got colour tape. It's another option for you. Top surface, I might put a couple of red stripes. Accentuate the red which is already there. Trim that off. Secondary one. Oop. Tape says no. Any bubbles in it. Leading edge. Oh, nice hot wheel on it. Go. We have some stripes to it as well if we want to.